right, here we go, diving into another big hour, lighting the fuse for this explosive broadcast. It's the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom every single day, telling you the truth and giving you better analysis than anyone else. Welcome to it. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, crazy video. It's up on my Twitter feed now. South Korean fighter jets bombed their own village by accident in Korea. They dropped real bombs, live ordnances. 8 bombs dropped on a village. It's crazy. Number two, 5.5% of the K through 8 students in Detroit are proficient in math. 5.5%. 1 in 20 can do math in Detroit. Which brings me to number three, the big breaking news today. And that is, we're told that Donald Trump will sign an executive order today to begin the dismantling of the Department of Education. Gee, I can't imagine why. I mean, 5.5% of the kids in Detroit can actually do math, K through 8. How's that Department of Education working out, Jimmy Carter? President Donald Trump expected to issue the executive order later today to direct the new Education Secretary, Linda McMahon, to close the department down. A draft of the EO has been seen by the Washington Post, NPR, and ABC News. And it calls on McMahon to take all necessary steps to begin the closure process to the maximum extent appropriate and permitted by law. The draft recognizes it would take an act of Congress to shut down the Department of Education, requiring at least 60 votes in favor of dissolving the department in the Senate. The federal bureaucratic hold on education must end, the draft states, calling for the department's main functions to be returned to the states. You see, federalism is alive and well with Donald Trump. Federalism is the way he sees the world, and he should. It's the way this country was designed. Powers not enumerated and given to the federal government all come back to the states. In this Republican form of government in which we operate, that's the way it's supposed to be. Always has been that way. But in Washington, they've gobbled up power over and over again. And the unions, the unions will go crazy over this. The public sector unions that never should exist in this country. Public sector unions never should have been allowed in this country because they're playing poker with your money. When public sector unions negotiate with a public school, whose money are they negotiating with? Yours. That's why people like Franklin Roosevelt said public sector unions should never be allowed, and yet, here we are. The federal bureaucratic hold on education must end, the draft states, calling for the department's main functions to be returned to the states. The Department of Education's main functions can and should be returned to the states. It also directs McMahon to distribute federal funding for education programs with precision regarding the law and administration policy. The experiment of controlling American education through federal programs and dollars, and the unaccountable bureaucrats those programs and dollars support, has failed our children, our teachers, and our families, says the draft. NPR reported that the average of federal dollars make up nearly 10% of funding allocated to public schools, with the rest sourced from states and local taxes. Federal money is mainly targeted toward the population's particularly vulnerable students, who are those with special needs and those living in rural areas. And yet in this state, I believe it's the city of Flint that gets the most money. The city of Flint gets $30,000 per student, more than half of which comes from federal sources. The city of Flint has some of the worst schools based on results in the state. Following her Monday confirmation, McMahon reportedly sent out an email to Education Department staffers that called Trump's plan to overhaul, which removes red tape and restores the nation's education system, that it was, quote, our opportunity to perform one final unforgettable public service to future generations of students. She also expressed in her memo that, quote, my vision is aligned with the president's, to send education back to the states and empower all parents to choose an excellent education for their children. Several department employees have already been laid off, pressured to retire, or placed on administrative leave. The Trump administration also stripped the Institute of Education Sciences IES, an organization responsible for gathering and sharing data that covers such topics as national student achievement and teaching practices. Deep cuts to programs and grants have also been enacted. Look, 5.5% of the kids in Detroit can do math. 5.5%. The Department of Education heavily funds the Detroit schools. What is the net result? Crap. Here it is, people. It's crap. It hasn't gotten us any damn place. Johnny can't read and Johnny can't write, yet they want more money in the Department of Education, these fools on the left. For what? So Johnny can't read or write next year and the year after that too? It's time to let the states control how the kids are educated. And you know what you'll find? Some states do it better. You'll find this thing called best practices. We'll educate our kids again, not indoctrinate them with union BS and top-down educational nonsense. We don't need DEI. We need reading, writing, and arithmetic around here. It's pretty clear. Because if Johnny can't read and write, Johnny can't be productive because Johnny can't have a job. Johnny can't support himself. So what happens? You get to support Johnny and his 3 baby mamas. That's what happens. Time for education to be returned to the states. I applaud this effort. 5.5% of K-8 students in Detroit public schools proficient at math. 8.5% could read at least. 8.5%, less than 1 in 10 could read at grade level in Detroit. In 7th and 8th grades, listen to this, it's heartbreaking. More than half the students had fallen behind in reading by 3 or more grade levels. That means 8th graders are reading at a 5th grade level, maybe. The percentage of students proficient in math K-8 range from as low as 2.9%, 2.9% in 3rd grade, 8.2% in 8th grade. Reading varied from 5.9% for 5th graders, 13.9% for 8th graders. This is pathetic. Pathetic. And the answer is more money? No, the answer is for new concepts, new ideas, a new direction. Anybody that would defend these numbers and tell me the Department of Education is doing its job is insane. But hey, at least we're woke. Hey, at least we've got DEI practices. Hey, at least the union's happy. 13.9% of our 8th graders in Detroit, Michigan can read, but hey, the unions are happy. I mean, what really matters other than that? This is filth. $27,449 per student is what the Detroit Public Schools got. $27,449. How's that return on your investment doing? Of course, they don't understand mathematics or commerce or the economy, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Here's what I think of the Department of Education. Good job, Donald Trump. Do something different. Try something new. I'll take a break, and when I come back, Ivy will be here to correct me. Maybe. It's the Steve Gruber Show.
At the Michigan Chamber,